Hello folks, Jonathan Milam here, and I've got 4 Jettone mouthpieces for those of you that are accustomed. These are the old Jettones. I believe they're being remade, but these are some of the originals by Ratzenberger, Amato, I believe were the names of the original guys. The first one I'm going to play is a Jettone Custom Model 5B. Fortunately, this feels much to me like the 7 rim that I'm used to dealing with. Actually, I use a Bach 41, but it's the same diameter of the venerable 7C that Bach put out. The interesting thing about this, and I've been talking lately some about mouthpieces, 24 throat, 26 throat. This is a mouthpiece tool that tells you just, if you can see the different demarcations there, just tells you what the throat is. This one is 28. That's the smallest that I've got, the smallest measurement. The 28 barely goes in there. And the interesting things about these mouthpieces, I'll try and show it here. Right off the bat, when you're coming down here, about the first quarter of an inch, straight down, straight down. And then, of course, you get the slant and a rather relaxed throat here. This is the throat we're talking about. And I'll probably put a few of these up for sale. It just does not do me a whole lot of good to have a bunch of different rim feels. I don't seem to be able to prosper that. I tried playing trombone for a while, got some vids up. Embarrassing. Of course, you notice today that I have my mask handy. We're in COVID times. Always worried about the COVID police finding more than one person in a room and putting us in the stocks. Okay, at any rate, got a lovely Olds recording here from LA, 52, if I remember correctly. What better to play a vintage mouthpiece than a vintage trumpet? Okay, again, this is the Jettone Custom Model B, and we'll tootle around with Gimme That Old Time Religion. Oh, better turn this down just a little bit. Okay. Okay, this is a whole lot like the next mouthpiece, which I'm going to play, and that is probably the most famous Jettone that I know of, and that is the studio model. And this is a B, so they had different type rims, how much roundness or flatness there was. This is a B. Feels just a little bit looser than the custom model 5B that I had a moment ago. Maybe a little bigger throat, although it still is showing a 28, maybe a slightly more relaxed throat. Is what I meant to say. Seems to put out a slightly bigger sound. Famous piece, studio model, and this is the B rim. And on and on. Okay, the next mouthpiece we've got is one that I've had for a long time. I had a studio model. I thought it was the C rim, but did sell that. I think that's in Australia with a fine man there. And this is the Symphony Model C. Model C, a little more rounded rim, if I remember correctly. And of course, the Jettone, it was actually a dig at the people that said all they made was lead pieces. So really, I'm pretty sure they would not want this one in a symphony, at least not if you're playing in a section. A little deeper than the studio and slightly larger rim. Slightly larger, maybe more like a 5. Don't know if it's quite as big as a 3, perhaps along that line. Isn't it funny? I'm playing that and I'm thinking, did I mention the difference? There's really 2 different shaped mouthpieces that I have. One of them, it just looks so, it's such a lightweight piece. The Symphony here has a little more mass to it in this area. You can see the difference there. A little heavier mouthpiece, naturally, a little more metal involved. And the last one that I'm going to play is more like the first one that I had. But the last one is the Severinson model. And I got this with a New York Symphony special trumpet that I picked up in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, probably a little more than a year ago. Beautiful, beautiful mouthpiece. The neat thing about this one is, again, very tight. The 28 will not even go into that. Will not even penetrate into the throat area. And I'm not going to force it, but suffice it to say. So quite a tight throat, but a very much deeper piece. Even though you have the thin weight here, you've got a much more of a V before you get into that tight throat area. This is really just, the ID is a little too big for me, but beautiful sound. When I picked it up, man, I was hitting F's above high C. It's marvelously shaped. I really do. The rim has got just a little bit of wear on it, which I can feel, so I try and position that properly. I won't fiddle with it now. But anyway, this is the Jettone Severinson model. Okay, and give me that old-time religion. Phil Driscoll put a record out when he was 16 or 17, 18, something like that, A Touch of Trumpet, which you can find at YouTube. And he played with the backup of the Stockholm Symphony Orchestra, said they gave him a standing ovation after virtually every number. He has a great rendition of this. Of course, it's symphonic and probably made in the late 60s, 67, it seems like, if my memory serves me correctly. His range was tremendous, his elocution just marvelous, his tonguing was phenomenal. Every time I play it, I do think of Phil. Okay, we've had here the Severinson, and we've had the Model B, and we've had the Symphony model, and also, what was the other one? Oh, the studio. How could I forget? 4 nice Jettones. Hope you've enjoyed this. Don't forget the thumbs up. Give me a like if you would, please. Hope you enjoyed it. Any questions, comments, if you had experience with Jettones, it'd be wonderful to hear from you. Take care. Stay safe from COVID and, more importantly, the COVID police. Good luck with everything, folks. Keep in touch.